Let's call a public hearing to order for the 2013 budget for the Town of Clermont. I'm going to give a quick overall of the highlights of the budget and then allow for public comment and questions. This budget is very similar to the last few budgets we put together. And what drives our budget obviously is the revenues that we collect from the sales tax and mortgage tax in the county. That's our main revenue generator. And this year, as was last year, the revenues have increased, which has helped us a little bit as far as budgeting. But we still do not bring in enough revenue to offset the expenditures of the town. We still predict that this year we will be budgeting $83,000 total from the fund balance. Last year we budgeted $90,000, so we budgeted a little bit less this year. We will not be using all of that. Obviously, if if we spent every single dime in the budget, we would certainly have to use the $83,000, but we haven't been in the past, and we don't expect to be spending every dime on the budget. We're attacking this in a very conservative approach, spending only what's necessary. I think we've done a good job over the past few years of limiting the expenditures to preserve the fund balance that we currently do have. The budget this year, a couple of the high points that I want to point out is we've obviously had an increase again in the pension costs. We've had an increase in health insurance costs. We have a $20,000 expenditure budgeted for the data collection, which is due again next year. We have to do a town-wide data collection every 4 years, and the 4 years is up, believe it or not, already. So we did have to budget $20,000 for that. We do have some money budgeted to repair the back of the community house, so some woodwork that needs to be done, and some painting. And I believe that's about the extent of the major expenditures that we planned on. I mean, it's not major. I mean, you're talking $10,000 in repairs and that $20,000, but that's enough to affect our budget tremendously because we have such a small budget, such a tight ship we're running here. So with those increases in the budget, we were still able to lower our expenditures and lower the amount we're predicting from the fund balance. That's, like I said, due mainly because of the increase in the revenues from the county. We predict our revenues to be up quite a bit, about 10% more than the past year. And the trend has been running about a total of 6% this year, but overall we're up about over 10% over the past 2 years. So it does help. It does help us as far as our budgeting tool. We are going with a flat rate increase again this year. There's no increase to the tax rate. It's going to be a 0% increase, actually a $24 reduction if you want to be technical. But there is no increase to the budget, to the tax rate. And I think that sums it about up. We denied everybody across the board for raises this year. It's the first year we've actually turned down raises for everybody. The highway guys have usually got a 2 or 3% raise. Nobody's getting raises this year. There's several requests, and we decided to turn everybody down this year. So we need one more year to see if hopefully revenues continue to go up. It puts us in a better position. Every time the revenues go up, we obviously are in a better position as far as preserving our fund balance, which is essential to keeping the tax rate as low as it is, which again, we're less than half of the lowest next town in the county as far as tax rates. So if we can preserve our fund balance, we can continue to keep the rate at a very, very low rate. We do have, just to let everybody know.
One other item that we had in, I don't think you mentioned was for an audit.
Oh, yes, thank you, Bob. Yes, we did obviously put in, which we've talked about this past year, we did budget $5,000 for an independent outside audit of the books and the bookkeeper. I think that is essential. We all agreed that, approximately every 3 years it's time to do that. This is the 3rd year since the comptroller was in here with an audit, so it's time to have them verified and looked at again. We do audit the books every year as a board, but we need an outside firm to come in here and go through and verify the numbers, and that is also in the budget. So, the $20,000 to $5,000 is $25,000 that usually wouldn't be in our budget, but obviously we added that in and have that accounted in this year's budget. Attached to everybody's reports, I just want to point out real quick because it has something to do with budget. The fund balances, I put a report in here as far as the fund balances go. So we all have the income statements, the expenditures, the general balance sheet, the highway balance sheet, and it gives you the fund balances listed, and everything is broken down. Currently, we still have a fund balance in the general fund of, not including this year, coming out $279,000. We budgeted $60,000, so depending how much we use out of that, you deduct that off the $279. That's what will remain our general fund balance. The highway, I think, is about 3 or 4 sheets back. The fund balance is $143,600 and change. We have $30,000, I believe, budgeted in that line item. So if we used all 30, we'd be down to 113. But again, I don't see that happening. I think we're actually going to exceed what we budgeted for revenue with highway. We should actually add a little bit to that fund balance, but we will spend more out of the general. So, but we do have, a sufficient amount of fund balance to rely on, to use as a budgeting tool. And if the revenues continue, I think we'll be in very good shape for several years. But they do have to continue. That's about my spiel on the budget. I'm certainly looking forward to questions. And
Oh, definitely.
absolutely.
First one is, I saw online as of October 24th of this year, East Greenbush, because you just said you were asking for an audit, said that they contacted a firm, private firm, to do an audit, and then they're not going to have the results, even though it was almost a year ago. And the reason they did this was, I'm sure you've read the newspaper about Stockport. And Stockport is broke. They're missing $250,000, possibly more. They also have hired a private accounting firm to analyze the town's books. And the audit cannot even be undertaken until July. And as I said, this thing sounds familiar from East Greenbush, because they said, wonder what ours is going to show. Now, you can see all my nice little papers. I go back to 2009, but I have a question for you, because all of you, I've got a quote here from Mr. Desmond. You all check everything that goes on, and he thinks everything is fine. Which one of you has an accounting or a bookkeeping degree? How do you know everything's fine? I have a master's plus degree, and I wouldn't be able to decipher any of those spreadsheets from an accounting or bookkeeping. How do you know we, Clermont, because we're using the same bookkeeper that was fired from Stockport, Copake,
Actually, our bookkeeper's not the same.
Cairo,
Our bookkeeper's not the same as Stockport. Brian Fitzgerald is our bookkeeper.
Mark Fitzgerald's been sick for years. Brian Fitzgerald is doing the work. Come on, let's get with it. We know that. It's Mark Fitzgerald's company, but it's Brian Fitzgerald. And now Brian Fitzgerald, I don't know if it was in the paper or it was told to me by somebody when I was up there, but it seems as though he's disconnected his phone. Now, are our books here were they brought back, or does he still have them? Because last time he had the books instead of them being here in town hall. What happens if we have a question? Are we going to get hit with a humongous tax because this town is broke?
Well, in light of the conversations that I've had and the ongoing investigation with Stockport, I've actually talked to Brian several times since then. I requested, as a matter of fact, more information to back up the documents that we all get on a regular basis, which if everybody looks at the report, they'll have a lot more information in here, because I had questions to verify that we are not going to have the same problem. And I actually have a printout, which I'm not going to copy for everybody, of the entire general ledger for the highway and highway and general accounts, which is about 50-some pages, which everybody's entitled to a copy if they want. They can look through it. But we verify the amount of the balances. We verify what we pay. We sign off on the vouchers. We know what's in the bank.
Stockport
Well,
and Copake
if you-
and Cairo and all those other companies. Ray, if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck.
I cannot comment on Stockport. I know right away they blew it out of proportion. There was $250,000 missing. Now they found $100,000 that the board spent on the water district, which they shouldn't have. It's not missing. The board actually expended it and spent it somewhere they shouldn't have. I don't know all the details, but I'm not gonna.
Which is something the bookkeeper should have picked up. All right,
Absolutely.
and my question to the board is,
The bookkeeper
we
just
talked
provides
about
numbers.
hiring.
Actually, the board should have picked it up.
Well,
That's
and the
their
bookkeep-
job.
And the bookkeeper also should have picked it up. I mean,
Um,
you know, I mean, the thing is that what I want to know is why the board is so loyal to Mr. Fitzgerald when he obviously has got a lot of problems. We talked, you know, Mr. Kale talked about hiring, you know, a new bookkeeper and looking for somebody. Is it budgeted in this year? Are we going to look? Have we advertised? You know, have we publicized? You know, I don't, there just seems to be like a real disconnect with this loyalty to Mr. Fitzgerald, who seems to be having major problems in other towns.
Plus, we said we should have checks and balances. Evan said when he took the course for sitting on the board, that's one of the things they said. And this Mr. Fitzgerald does not like to answer questions because Mrs., her name is, starts with a G, said that, is it? I had it highlighted, it's in here somewhere. That he wouldn't answer questions, that seems to be the thing. He didn't answer questions for our town board, he got up and walked out, as you well know. He got out, a heated exchange, Mrs. Linda I'm not saying it right, Gabaccia, Gabaccia. He seemed.
This is old news. I mean, the reason, I'm gonna answer the loyalty
Old
question
or not,
first.
it's going on it's not that old, from 2009 to 2012.
There's not a loyalty issue. Let me get back to that first. There's not a loyalty issue. The problem is, every single thing I've asked for from this bookkeeper, he's provided. I've asked him to explain himself, come down, meet with the board if necessary, which he did. We asked him questions, we asked him his policies, maybe not his policies, we asked him his questions. He provided all the information we asked for. He satisfied all our interests on what he's providing to us. We look at the numbers, we look at the balances. What more can we ask of a bookkeeper? We do an outside audit that is budgeted this year.
Why aren't we doing an audit yearly as recommended by the state controller's office?
More money.
It's $5,000 to take credit out of our bank account
Or at
every
least
year to do
every
an audit.
2 years?
2 to 3 years is what they recommend. I'm gonna say 3 years. We went with state comptroller 3 years ago. They verified everything was fine. Now it's time to do it again. It's 3 years are up. It is budgeted. We're gonna check it. We're gonna put an RFP out for the bookkeeper. We're gonna put an RFP out for the attorney. We're gonna put an RFP out for the Morris Associates, for the engineer. We're gonna check the insurance agent. Everything is going out to bid this year.
Ray, I'm gonna ask
First
you
one
again.
first.
When Eddie and Evan went out campaigning, what was the big issue that everybody spoke about? Was it not the bookkeeper and
The assessor.
the assessor? We brought that, I mean, just like we said to the bookkeeper, you have to answer our questions because we hire you. Well, you guys are elected by us, you're supposed to represent we the people. If we the people are concerned about what's happening with our money, why are you so insistent to stick with this guy?
For exactly what I said. He's provided all the information to us. He's satisfied our
That's to you, but
interests.
the people aren't satisfied.
I don't know what more to do than provide the information he provides us that satisfies our interests. I
But
mean,
the
it's
thing is
available,
that-
it's public information, Judy.
But
I mean,
we,
I
you
don't
know, what Judy says is true. I mean, we're the people who elect you guys, okay? And so consequently, you have to report back to us and make us satisfied if you want to be reelected. You're not making us satisfied, is what Judy is saying. Because, you know, we're not getting the answers that we
I no
think.
longer trust.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trust issue, and, you know, you say that you check this every month and everything. I mean, I have a banking background. I could not look at that budget and tell you what's what on it. I couldn't, all right? And yet you implicitly trust everything that he tells you. The thing is, how do you even know you're asking the right questions?
Let me remind everyone that the final report is filed with the state comptroller's office every year. So they initially do some kind of review and audit of his reports that he
You
files
hope.
every year. Well, I mean, we have to trust the system. I mean, there's nothing.
Why?
That's another issue, but as you mentioned, you have 2 new board members that came on the board that heard a lot of problems about this bookkeeper. And from what I could tell, and what we all agreed, is they were satisfied with what he was providing and what he was doing. Now, if if they're satisfied coming in here looking at it with a negative attitude, which they were brought in on, and they're satisfied, that should tell you right there that we're all
That should
satisfied.
tell me
with
right
what's
there
done.
that all of you are gonna be in jeopardy in the next election.
I don't think so, Judy, because
I don't-
I'm happy with the reports we're getting. I am used to reading sheets like this. I don't have an accounting degree, but I've worked with paper like this for 24 years. And
I don't think there's any,
I have no problem with these reports. They're easy to read. We follow them from the beginning of the year. Every month, we can add and subtract everything that goes in and out ourselves. We're seeing what goes in and out of the bank. We're seeing everything that is
You
paid. We
think
are
you
signing it.
But you're seeing what's
The
put on the paper.
balances show.
Judy.
Well, if it's not there, it's not in the bank account either.
Well,
Yeah,
And it's
We do
there.
get bank statements, and every check that goes out, the 5 of us are signing off on before it goes out. So there's
Isn't
not,
that the same process in all of these towns that have a problem?
if they follow it,
If they follow.
if they actually
They
look
look.
at it.
They
If
don't
they look.
have to look at
So
it
you're
that
saying
close.
5 towns were inept?
Well, every town is individual, have their own
We don't know
individual
what those
problems.
towns
I don't know.
I don't know for all the towns, but in our training that we went through, what one, was it Greenport that they talked about?
I was Freeport,
It was
ironically.
Greenport. And basically they said, yes, there was somebody acting wrong, but the only reason that it got passed was because the board was not doing their job of reviewing them. And they just had a big stack of paper and they didn't want to spend the time, so they signed off.
Can do it as well.
Kinderhook.
Kinderhook
That's
as
where
well,
it basically
yes.
started, and that
We
had
don't
to be.
just sit here and sign these things during the meeting.
And these things are
That's what it
also,
looks like you do.
No, we're just catching up on the final
I
edit.
mean, you know,
we're
I
here-
see you all sitting there signing it, well, you know,
No, we're
well,
just
everybody's getting their
verifying.
different reports.
I was here on Saturday signing things. Bob was here how many times signing things? And that gives you the time to sit down and
I
look
look
them
at-
over.
I look at all of the vouchers and all the bills.
Yes.
And sign it. What we sign off on is that that voucher represents a valid item that should be paid. Okay? That's only one piece of the checks and balances. The other piece is that Mary prepares a list of all those vouchers, and she tells the bookkeeper which checks to issue. Okay? Those checks come back, and Ray gets that list and the stack of checks. He has to sign the checks. And then when those checks are cashed, just like when you balance your own checkbook, you don't have to be an accountant to balance your checkbook. This is a little
It hasn't
more,
balanced since the day I opened it.
well, mine does.
Well, if you need some help, Judy.
It's online banking, I really,
But
it's a penny
but
every
the
day.
next thing that happens is that Ray gets the bank statement, and he compares, what was authorized to be paid, what checks were written, what checks he signed, and what checks have been cashed, and what that balance is. He balances, I mean, it's a little more complex, I would think, than your personal checking account.
Yes.
But it's basically the same process that you go through. And that's done, I believe, every month. I mean, I see him here on Thursday nights, looking over stuff.
And so the checks are kept here?
The checks come here in an envelope
He keeps the
to
checks?
Ray.
He keeps the checks.
But he can't sign a check.
He can't sign
He
it.
has the
He
checks.
has the checks, that's correct.
But they're all numbered, and they come in numbered. Ray signs the checks and compares it to the list that Mary prepared based on the vouchers that we all signed.
Did anybody ever hear of Bernie Madoff?
I don't think
I mean, no, I'm being facetious here, but the thing is that that man was brilliant at making things appear that weren't there. And what I'm saying is that there's a level of sophistication that you need when you look at things like this, that the bookkeeper has, that I'm sorry, that you guys don't.
Well, I would say we do. You are looking at a couple of business owners here who
Yes,
are
but you
used to
agreed with the
financials.
audit. I mean, you didn't agree with the audit either, so, I mean, you know.
No, I
At
do
the
agree
end
with
of the
an
day,
audit. I believe we need
we
a
can look at the
periodic
bank
audit.
account, and if the money's in the bank account, then we know that nothing's been stolen.
I think in our town, since I've been on the board, there's no funny business going on here.
No.
I'll tell you, it's very, very simple.
This is
It's
a very small town.
I will, my experience with it so far, it's very hard to embezzle money. We're all checking these invoices and statements all at the
We
same
all take it very, very seriously.
But I will agree that it isn't proper protocol to have the accountant and the bookkeeper one and the same. That's just not good
Well,
practice,
but you
period.
said that you could get somebody who was,
Well,
cheaper.
well, no, I said we should explore
well,
So,
you
we've
had somebody
yet-
in mind.
we've
But
yet
what
to
I'm
do
saying
that.
is that if we can get somebody, again,
it.
who is not in contention with all the other towns around here and is more economical,
It's something that we, there's
that's
no
what we're
reason we
doing now.
can't look at
then
that.
that's a no-brainer.
I had somebody in mind, and it became a problem because she quit her job and took a job with Greene County Savings, which we do our banking with, which is not, it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
We
I
can-
mean, you
So
know-
I do have somebody that I did talk to that might be interested in coming as we go forward with this, to interview different things, to look, explore it. But I do have somebody who is a bookkeeper that would be interested in
And
coming
they're
in for an interview, and then we can see if she can do.
but you said you're putting out,
And
you're advertising
We're gonna
for,
put it out to bid so we can get solicit bids and then look and see. I mean, we're budgeting the same because I don't imagine unless we
Right. I
find
understand
somebody
that.
much cheaper, you know, if we find somebody cheaper, we'll go with that. But if it's more money, I don't see us spending more money if we're satisfied with what we're having.
no, I mean,
You're
no,
talking
I,
somebody, or you're talking a check and balances with an accountant as well as a bookkeeper?
Well, we're gonna put it out for a bookkeeper.
We already have a bookkeeper.
Well,
unless you're getting
we're
rid of-
looking to price the bookkeeper out again.
Okay,
And then independent audits is the only follow-up way to check the
Right.
bookkeeper. Independent audits, outside audits are the only way to really verify that.
what
And
happens
if
to
we
the
wanna
check and
budget that
balance
every
with an
year,
accountant and a bookkeeper?
Then you're having an audit consistently. You're
Mhm.
paying for an audit, how often do you want that, every month? Do you want to pay for that every month?
It gets pretty
It's very
expensive.
expensive.
We can't do that.
No.
how long does an audit, an independent audit take?
That depends, I
Depends on
don't
the
really,
scope.
yeah, it depends on the scope of work, but I don't know the answer to that. When we put it out the bid, we're gonna actually solicit for this. We have, like I said, the money budget, $5,000, we hope we'll cover this, hopefully it's less, but, we're certainly gonna put this out actually in the next month here, so.
Why is that considered an audit? When Evan first came back, he said, am I quoting you wrong, Evan? Because you said when you went to the training, they said that the best thing would be a checks and balances with an accountant and a bookkeeper. So the bookkeeper was doing it, I guess, weekly, monthly, whatever, and the accountant was checking on the bookkeeper, but not as an audit, but as a checks and balances. And only going maybe once every 4 months or something and checking.
I thought that was more of a yearly end of, when the books were closed at the end of the year. And that probably is something that,
That is
now that I know
a-
more about our town, if we have for a bigger town, then I think yearly would probably make more sense. But as I've grown acquainted with the process, I don't see that we really get much of gain from a yearly audit. And then all of our books are open, so if anybody wants to look at them, we can pull up any month and take a look at what was paid in that month and check for, you know, you can check back as far as you want to see that things are going right.
Yeah, I mean, we would, ideally, I would love to have an audit every single year, but the fact of the matter is, it's money that's coming straight out of the bank. I mean, it's money we're taking from the fund balance that we don't have to cover. We don't have the revenues to cover our own budget, let alone put $5,000 in every year.
If you get somebody who's less expensive, you
Well-
could have an
Well,
audit every
we'll
year.
explore it. I mean, the best that the board can do is just explore it and say, we did it, and
Put it
see,
out
you
for
know.
bid.
I know, but this has been an ongoing problem, and it's like, this is the first time I've heard definitive action.
Excuse me.
Well,
It has not, from our viewpoint, it has not been an ongoing problem. There is not a problem. We had
But
an
you've
audit.
heard from, you've
Questions
heard
that
from the
people for
electorate,
3 years.
you've heard from us that we're dissatisfied
Yeah.
and nothing has happened. Okay, that's what I'm saying. This is the first time that I have heard the board say they are going to finally do something definitive to put out a bid for a bookkeeper, to see if we can get one that's more economical.
Which we mentioned back at the
Yes.
beginning of the year, I think is what we said, we're definitely gonna go through
But
this
this
process.
has been talked about, like Judy said, for a couple
3
of
years,
years
since
now.
2009 has been.
But then there was the result of the audit that said there was no problem.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah,
There was no problem with the finance.
There was no problem with
problem
the
with money.
finance.
well, there was a
That was-
problem with the funds, the general fund.
No, there was not.
Yes, there.
Well, we're not doing
Problem.
fake.
Well, you know, I read the audit, so.
What the auditor said is they didn't want us to have as much
They read
money
it
in the
up.
bank.
Right.
What they would, what New York State would like us to do is spend everything we had and then raise your taxes So to
I
pay for
read
things
the
that
order,
go.
Bob. I understood the order. Thank you.
One other question.
Any questions pertaining to the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
I understand that more money is being put into the ball field. May I ask, how much money did we have to give to the Sawpaws when we were using their land?
Nothing.
And now, are we gonna be putting in every year for the ball field that we now have?
I would like to see a contribution by the town to maintain and to, you know, upkeep the field, correct, yes.
Well, didn't we maintain that field as well?
That field, we were asked to leave by the Sawpaws. They wanted that for the building that sits on that property as of right now. So we
But I
kind
think
of
there was
took
a
their
bit of
information.
contention, that's why we were asked to leave.
Well, no, I mean, this Little League wanted to do some work. Well, that's a totally different issue. That's nothing to do with budget, Judy. Yes, we put money in the budget for the ball field. I believe, I have to look at it, tell you the
So this is
truth.
an added expense every year.
I think it was $2,000. I think you're correct.
Not for anything, we don't even have a school in Clermont.
We do have children. Yeah.
Yes, but we don't have a school, we don't have a post office, we have.
We're too small to have that stuff.
That's right. So we have playgrounds and stuff like that that we give to in Germantown. We don't have to give in Red Hook, but there is there. I just see it as an added expense, and I wonder how this necessary, all this added expenses, come out to. Are we
Just
still
out.
talking playground equipment and stuff like that? I mean, as I said, the biggest liability when I was a teacher was the playground equipment and the play area. Has anybody, I understand the ball field because that's being utilized, but how, has anybody checked how many other things are being used? I mean, the kids are at school most of the time and then,
Well, the feeling is we created a nice ball field there. We have 3 towns that use this, Germantown, Clermont, Livingston. They all come down here to play ball. There needs to be something there to entertain families. I mean, people bring younger kids, older kids, wait for the kids to play ball.
and
We need
we've always
we need
given money to
something.
Germantown when we've used their stuff, so was anybody giving money to us to
Well,
use
that's
ours?
the idea. We reduced what we paid Germantown over the past few years from 6,000 down to 4,000, now we're down to 3,000. We're reducing what we're paying them because we're creating our own park. Now, ideally, I'd like to have more here so we didn't have to pay them anything. But it's a very slow process, and I would like to continue to put a little bit of funding into the field to continue to build it up as we go through many years. So we have something in Clermont for the residents and other town residents that come to use the field. I think it's essential, and, we do have, the Parkland Reserve money, which is the rec fees that people pay. That money is mainly what's being used, and I believe we put an additional $2,000 in from taxpayer money to supplement to try to do some small upgrades. We still need like a swing set just for the little kids to play with. I mean, we're not looking to put a $50,000 jungle gym in over there, but we would like to fundraise and raise money that way if we're looking to do a major project. But for small entertainment, we're looking to keep, just putting something in.
In fact, a
As I said, God
significant,
forbid anybody gets hurt there. This town's
significant
overloaded.
amount of the things that have been put in over there have actually been paid for by donations. And the scoreboard was donated, that was a couple $1,000, or was it more?
$3,000.
3,000.
And basketball.
The basketball hoop
was
was
donated.
donated.
Dugouts were donated.
The dugouts were donated.
We just got a grant.
We got a discount on the blacktop that was put in for the basketball.
But as I'm saying,
And
the
the gravel
maintenance
parking.
every year, are we gonna constantly be putting money into it?
That's a concern that some of us have, and we want to keep that low. And like they've been saying,
If we don't-
if we can do this entirely on donations, I would prefer that, or donations and on rec fees. I don't want it to become
I
a
just
burden
don't
on
want an
taxpayers.
apology after the fact that something goes wrong. And that seems to be the same thing, as I said, with the bookkeeper as well. An apology after the fact is gonna be too little too late.
Is the insurance cost up because of the ball field? I mean, it's,
No,
No.
we already looked at that, didn't we?
We have enough
With the
policy.
insurance company that we have now, Nymer, that's based on the size of your budget. So for the $2,000, it would be up, out of what, 600,000 total, or?
all right, yeah,
All right.
very good, okay.
So, and it also depends on the number of miles of roads that you have. And if we were to put a major building there, that would be addition, because there's addition for each of the buildings, basically for fire insurance but the amount that we pay for insurance is based primarily on the size of your budget and the number of miles of roads that you have. Plus
And if
some
anybody
future
gets hurt and sues the town,
It's covered under that
Covered.
umbrella.
it's covered.
Yeah, I think we looked at that for the swing sets, didn't we?
Mhm.
Yeah, that we were actually covered, which I was surprised. So it was all inclusive what we already have.
I have a different question.
Sure.
All fields over. You said you eliminated expenditures, and you mentioned that you weren't giving raises this year. What other expenditures have been eliminated?
We went through the budget line by line. If you could have attended the workshop, would have been easier, but it was several things that we
I
trimmed
mean,
off.
just highlight the big stuff.
We cut down on some of the buildings maintenance because, last year we had a lot of money budgeted for the church, which has been done. So some money was cut out of the budget line for the buildings. The snow and ice for the highway garage, we have a surplus of materials since we had a light winter last year. We were able to cut a little bit out of his materials, it was $3,000. I took out the budget officer pay, which is an additional pay that goes to me every year, it's $300. I eliminated that because, as we talked about, I says, there's no reason, we did the budget together, there's no reason to keep that in there. It's been in and it's been out, so that's been eliminated. What else was a big number, guys? Anybody remember?
The attorney and the engineer.
The attorney and the engineer, we eliminated some money out of it because we haven't been spending what we budgeted in the past. I believe we took a few $1,000s out of the attorney line and about the same out of the engineer. So we have reduced, like I said, a little bit here and there where we thought was necessary, where we could get
Do
away.
you have like an overall number or?
I can just tell you what the expenditures are for this year compared to last year, if you want to compare it, but the total expenditures for this year is $611,881. And last year, I don't have that number in front of me, but we can certainly get it. But again, it's, that number includes the additional money we had to put in, which was, like I said, for the audit and for the $20,000 data collection, which was a large number. That ate up most of our cuts, believe it or not, obviously.
What's the data collection, what's that about?
That has to be done every 4 years. We have to have a person go around to every parcel again, take pictures, look at the parcels, update the data cards, and enter the system again. So that's got to be done on a 4-year basis. And this
Is that for the assessor to use?
Yes, that's the updated property values and the true assessment.
Now, one of the things we've talked about, which we didn't start this year, we'd start next year, is maybe if it's going to be a $20,000 over 4 years, just budget $5,000 into
Each year.
a reserve fund. So as to smooth things out a little bit. I think we probably will do that.
We will do that for, yes, moving forward. I think that sums up everything. Any other questions on the budget? Okay, call the budget hearing to close. Thank you. Just need a 1-minute recess and then we'll get started with the meeting. I'd like to call the November meeting to order with, first with a silent prayer for the passing of Charles M. Larson Sr., followed by a salute to the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as we get started this evening, first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Charles Larson. He's zoning board chairman for the town. He's been a fixed asset to the town for decades, and his loss is he's going to be greatly missed. Obviously, he's done a tremendous amount for the town, and we're really going to miss everything he's brought to us and everything he's been part of. I'd like to. We have his son CJ is here this evening. Thank you for coming, CJ. We have a couple recognitions and certificates we'd like to present. I've asked Nancy, Councilwoman Moore, if she'd read the one, pass that down, and then I have another one to read as well. Read with Nancy, please.
This is the certificate of appreciation awarded to Charles M. Larson Sr. and it was issued by the Columbia County Board of Supervisors. Whereas the Columbia County Board of Supervisors wishes to honor Charles M. Larson Sr., and whereas Charles M. Larson Sr. was a rural mail carrier with the Germantown Post Office, who also owned and operated his own business, Larson's Repairs of Clermont, and whereas Charlie was a member of the Clermont Fire Company, the Village Green Committee, a fire commissioner, chairman of the ZBA, a planning board member, also served as president of the former Southern Columbia Ambulance, was on the Columbia County Cooperative Extension, the Germantown Alumni Association, the Germantown School Board, the Columbia County Farm Bureau, the New York State Farm Bureau, and the Hudson Valley Old Time Power Association, and whereas Charlie was active for at least 15 years in the HVOPA, and also involved in organizing and running tractor pulls and Ferguson Club meets, loaning his tractors to use for the auctions. And whereas Charlie was in Farm Bureau all his adult life, and also served on the county board, was vice president and then president at the county level. He left the county board when he was elected to the New York State Board of Directors for District 10, representing 5 counties at the state level, which were Columbia, Dutchess, Ulster, Orange, and Rockland/Westchester. Whereas Charlie organized and ran the garden tractor pulls, made sure the antique tractor display was there, and handled many details such as ticket sales, providing supplies, and often spending his own money in the days before there was a budget. And whereas Charlie donated materials to help build the barbecue pit at the Village Green, and in 2012 was named the most valuable participant for his contribution in years of work. Therefore, the Columbia County Board of Supervisors is pleased to recognize his service and dedication to his town and Columbia County. And signed by Patrick Ratton, Chairman, Columbia County Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Nancy. I also have a letter of recognition from the Town of Clermont prepared. I just want to start out by saying that I've only worked with Charlie the past 5 years, obviously as a board, being on the board, but I've known him all my life since I was young enough to ride my grandfather's car. We used to go over there so he could talk politics, and I'd play on his tractors. So I've known him for a very long time, and it's very difficult with the passing, and I put together something just a little bit more personal, but along the same lines as the county's letter. Whereas this board is deeply saddened by the passing of Charles M. Larson Sr., and whereas Mr. Larson was a devoted father and grandfather, and whereas this board would like to recognize the amazing contributions Charles M. Larson Sr. has made over the past several decades for the town of Clermont. Many people remember Charlie as their mail carrier, as he reached many of us on his mail route for several years. Several others remember Charlie as the go-to guy for parts and repairs for all types of equipment with his repair shop that served many local farmers for decades. Charlie will also be remembered for his involvement with the Clermont Fire Company, the Southern Columbia Ambulance Squad, the fire commissioners, zoning and planning boards, Germantown School Board, Germantown Alumni Association, Columbia County Cooperative Extension, Columbia County Farm Bureau, New York State Board of Directors representing District 10, and also the Hudson Valley Old Time Power Association, and the passion he represented with the Clermont Village Green Committee. And whereas Charlie was committed to pulling our community together and trying to figure out the solutions to all the problems the town of Clermont faced. Almost any time you stopped in Charlie's repair shop, you would be part of a conversation about the town and any problems that needed attention. And whereas Charlie was involved with the Village Green Committee as long as most of us can remember, he organized and ran the garden tractor pulls, which he loved. He made sure we had the antique tractor displays for many of us to enjoy, and he often donated supplies and materials to the town. He supplied the tractor and wagon for the hay rides at no cost, and even borrowed a bus one year to drive townspeople around to Christmas Carol. In 2012, Charlie was named the most valuable participant of the year for the years of work and dedication he represented for the town of Clermont. whereas this is just a quick summary of a long list of accomplishments that Charlie has been involved in, and his passing is certainly a great loss to our town and community. Therefore, be it resolved, this letter of recognition is to acknowledge Charles M. Larson Sr., his accomplishments, generosity, commitment to the town of Clermont, and that he will always be a part of the town of Clermont's history. Be it further resolved that this Clermont Town Board does hereby express its deepest sympathy and condolences to the family of the late Charles M. Larson Sr. by conveyance of this letter of recognition. This letter of recognition is given under my hand and privy seal of the Clermont Town Board, Clermont Town Hall, Route 9, Clermont, New York, the 5th day of November, in the year of our Lord 2012. And I'd like to present these to the son of CJ. Thank you for coming in. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'd like to have a couple of personal comments as well, maybe a little redundancy, but Charlie was a good friend. And there's an empty chair here tonight. A chair that's been consistently occupied for many years by Charlie Larson. Charlie was a fixture at town board meetings and rarely missed an opportunity for public comment. But Charlie didn't just comment. He participated and contributed. His influence went far beyond Larson's repair shop. You may not have always agreed with him, but it was apparent that he was always had the best interests of Clermont at heart. Came across the quote recently that said, "Get involved. The world is run by those who show up." Get involved certainly described Charlie. You've heard the list. He was known throughout the county and state as a strong supporter of agriculture, as a Farm Bureau officer in Columbia County and New York State Farm Bureau. He announced tractor pulls throughout the area, not just here on Village Green Day, but also at Columbia County Fair. You know, I was walking by the area when they're having a tractor pull and I heard his voice. Oh, I think I knew that voice. It was Charlie. That one that you both missed the election day dinner. He always sat there and collected the money for the tickets. Somebody else will have to do that this year. His participation in Village Green celebration also including donating much or all of the soda that was sold at the event. And Charlie's not a man of great means, but he felt so strongly about that he did it. Now, I've known Charlie for probably 15 years, plus or minus, not as long as Ray certainly, but I've known him for quite a while. I worked closely with him first on the zoning review committee, then as a member of the ZBA for 5 years, and as a town board liaison to the ZBA and planning boards. Charlie and I didn't always agree, but I think we developed a mutual respect and could often reach a consensus that was probably better than the position that either of us started with. On more than one occasion, I told Charlie there wasn't anyone I would rather have beside me to review zoning issues or zoning law updates. He will be sorely missed. I will miss him. And CJ, I know this is a difficult time for you, but know that in the coming weeks, you and your dad will be in our thoughts and prayers. Be assured also that time and God's grace will turn the tears of sorrow into the joy of memories. And it is a sorrowful time. We'll miss him, but we'll have good memories.
Thank you, Bob. At this point, I'd like to also request that page and minutes be left blank in memory of Charles Larson Sr., please. Okay. Thank you. Thanks again. Okay. Move on to the prior board minutes. I'd like to start with the September 24th meeting. We had a budget meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the meeting minutes? Motion to approve.
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Town board meeting on October 1st. Again, any comments, questions, corrections? Motion to approve.
so moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Last but not least, budget meeting we held on the October 15th. Comments? Questions? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. On to the communications, Mary, if you would report, please.
We have the Columbia County Office for the Aging Elder Express Fall newsletter I put back on the table from the town hall. And we just have one notice of changes for my hours and the building inspector and the assessor's hours on Thursday, November 15th. Due to the Thanksgiving holiday, the courts have requested that they use the town hall on that night, the 15th. So that means I will come in at 5 until 6:30. The building inspector and the assessor will probably be in the office from around 6 to 6:30, maybe even 7, if it's not too busy with the courts. And that's on Thursday, November 15th. That is all I have. Correspondence.
Clerk report, please.
Town clerk's report for October 2012. Zoning Board of Appeals, $75, application fee. Dog licensing, $20. Town clerk fees, solid waste, $1.50. Decals for hunting and fishing, $2.59. Community house donations, $100. Total check for the general fund, $199.09. Paid to New York State Department of Ag and Markets for dog surcharges, $8. Paid to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for hunting licenses, $44.41. To the Columbia County Treasurer for solid waste fees, $18.50. So the total income for the month was $270.
Motion to approve the report.
So,
Second.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mary. Correspondence for the web committee, other than the conversation we just had about the assessments being put on, the adjustments of the assessments being put on. Anybody else have anything further for the web committee? Any comments, questions? Okay. Moving on to committee reports. Anything you want?
Nothing right now, but we're coming into a new year soon, and maybe if we had an idea of what we want, I know we've discussed a lot of things. We can look for grants for, I know we're talking about the park, see if we get some more free money for that, or any other things we need.
Community house, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Something on it.
So
I
we-
think you mentioned something about the murals or the walls.
Right,
Maybe looking for
right,
grant for
yes.
that.
So if we maybe
Right.
sit down and make a list,
Yeah.
maybe I can start researching for
Mhm.
grants and want to get some funding for what we like.
Bob?
I probably used up most of my time already. But just one thing, there is a sign now for the Clermont Park, and I did write over there, the 911 sign is there also, which would be helpful if there's ever a problem there.
Yes. Thank Jimmy for putting that up, so we have that
Yeah.
actual mark now, so. Excellent. Evan?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Nancy, you got anything on that?
Nothing yet. I've been pointed out a change we need to make already in the emergency plan, and I was watching through all the hurricane news and everything. And the one thing I didn't have, I believe, is that the Emergency Management Office in the county has a Facebook page, so we'll put the link for that on our website as well. And some FEMA links. I don't want to start loading up FEMA information on the website because it's very long and there are all different areas. But there's links to, household preparedness, how to take care of your pets and so on, so that we should include some of those links.
Okay. Yeah, it's just on the heels of that, we obviously were fortunate with this hurricane that passed to our south. We were brushed by it, we felt some winds, lost some power, some parts of the town lost power for a little over a day. This is very important for us coming into this winter season, that we do have this plan in place, because we certainly want to be proactive and be able to take care of any emergencies that may arise rather than be reactive. I think we're in good shape, and it takes a lot of work to keep that up to date, but I appreciate that because it's important for us to continue.
And particularly since we can't have a shelter, we do not have a facility to use as a shelter here in our town ourselves.
What was that phone call we got?
That's the reverse
That's
911 for
Reverse
the county.
911 working.
Oh, great.
Code Red has been put in place where they will send out any number they have registered with 911, they will send out an automated message.
So does that conflict with our,
No,
That comes from the county, so that's an update from the county, it has nothing to do with the town, as far as us as an individual area, but they'll send out emergency messages if something, is coming through the county. It seems really that, like, lately that we've had a lot, I don't say lately, but it seems that we're getting more and more violent weather.
yes.
So I think it's very important that, we keep up on this plan because, eventually we're gonna be hit with something we need it.
Yes,
And
and
we wanna be prepared for it.
We are operating under the umbrella of the county emergency
but it
management.
isn't on the website yet.
Our plan is, yes,
I
last year's
couldn't
plan.
find it.
I just looked at it
It's
today.
there. It's
I
there.
went on the website as soon as we heard about the hurricane to try to find out what exactly we were to do if a tree came down or whatever. And all I got was that little thing about what Diane O'Neill prepared. I
No,
didn't see
there's,
anything.
the whole
from
plan is on there. It is.
Where do you go?
How do you get it?
Down the.
It's right on the front page down toward the bottom. It says emergency preparedness plan.
That's what I clicked. I
No,
didn't
that
get
was about, there's two things there. We need to clean that up, I think.
Yeah, I think we discussed something along those lines last
Yeah.
time we met.
And that will get cleaned up this year. This is still, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah,
It is-
that's-
it is there.
I couldn't find
It is there, because I looked at it today.
I'll go back and look again, but as I said, I went on, I couldn't find it all.
This is not a blog. Don't
No.
go to the blog now.
It's,
You should see it right in the center, right in the main page. You may have to scroll down and go to the next page even, but
it is
they're
there.
not positive. And it should also be along the side, under
think-
another
yeah.
heading.
I think it might have been like maybe
On
2 levels
more to
deep or
follow,
something.
yeah.
Levels deep, yeah.
It said click on the more to follow, which I clicked on, it said that page wasn't available, so,
Oh, I've never had that happen.
yeah.
Maybe I have to take a quick
If
look
you
at
could
it.
email me the link that's giving you the problem, and then I'll also take a look at where it is and send you that.
Because I noticed there was that thing with Diane's name still on it, and that was just a brief little statement, and that should probably come right off.
Right.
Where's the nearest shelter?
The nearest shelter this last time was at the Taconic Firehouse. It is not convenient, it is not really nearby, but in the conversations I've had with the Emergency Management Office and the Red Cross, in order to have a shelter, you have to be able to provide certain facilities that we do not have. So therefore, we would be advised from the county, if an emergency is declared, where our shelter is, and that was this time where it was if it was needed.
Depending on the severity.
Depending on the
How many
severity.
they open. and
Now,
where
they may open more than that in a bigger emergency, it's hard to say.
Well, like in the last time when we had that big ice storm,
Mhm.
I know that Germantown at the Activities Building, they were serving or giving out hot soups and stuff to people who needed it. Wouldn't we be able to do that
Yes,
from our
we can do
firehouse? 'Cause
that.
we have a kitchen.
We could do that right from the
and we have
community
dinner.
house, from the
Okay.
We can do
community
that
house
there,
next
we
door.
can do it over here, yes.
What we
Warming
cannot
stations.
do is we can have a warming station
We have
that is in our
generators.
plan. And you have to have a building with generators, which we have. We cannot do is offer any overnight facilities. We do
Okay,
not
well, we
have
used
the
to have
ability
that
to do
with the
that.
sisters, right?
Yes.
It was never formalized and cannot be because of the difficulties for them of signing an agreement.
Okay.
They are not allowed to do that. It's not a matter of them not being willing to offer help, they just cannot legally commit to that type of a structure because it involves government function.
You know, maybe if there was a list also of people who had generators, and if it was really an emergency for people, before we got them anywhere else, if some people were willing to put a couple people up, or at least take them in and get warmed up or something,
As a
if they're
volunteer
willing
thing,
to
I think that's an
volunteer.
excellent idea for neighbors to do. Like if people take responsibility, I mean, you know everybody on your road, Judy.
Yeah, well, I mean, even this week, I took.
I'll bet you know
my
who's got a
daughter's-
generator.
My daughter, I have a generator, and my
Mhm.
daughter's friend came up from the city, it's been 4 days because.
Yeah,
she
I
had
don't
to
think
watch it.
we can officially do that as a town, offer private homes and such. It has to be neighbor to neighbor.
Put that to the neighbor, okay.
But it certainly, if you'd like to be on my volunteer list,
Sure.
okay,
You
you're
know,
now
me,
on the
most
list.
of it.
I was going to call you about
Go
that.
for it.
I'm updating the list, and
Okay.
we have a core of volunteers who re-volunteer every year, and I contact them every year to ask them if they can still do it, so you're now on the list. Okay? I will need your contact information.
You have something you want to do?
What am I volunteering for?
Open your house to everybody that needs a place to stay.
Basically, it might be, we might ask you to come and help get coffee ready or something of that sort. There are no specific plans, it would depend on the emergency, the involvement of the town, the county, and so on. But it's people who are willing to help. So,
On this same line, on the website, I did put information about Code Red, a link to the county website that you can fill out the information for Code Red. I think what they've done, I believe they called everybody with a phone.
mhm.
If you have a landline phone, you're.
Landline phone, because I got 2 calls. And the reason I got a second one, I believe, is because I went on and signed up. You can put in your email address, you can get it by email, you can get it by landline, you can get it by your cell phones.
That's practical.
So I had done it already,
Mhm.
and then found out that people were getting it that had not put in their information online, so I figured they must be doing it by every
Yes, because I got called and I
landline,
did not put anything.
which 911 would have. The other thing I did put on there was 537 INFO, which is another way of getting information out. The supervisor in an emergency would call up. He has the ability to put something out there. If you have a phone, which hopefully you will, you can go call in to 537 INFO, and there are prompts to take you to Clermont. The first thing you're going to hear more than likely is that there is an emergency. It could be Germantown's, it could be Livingston's, it could be ours. It's the 3 towns. Then you can go to the Clermont prompt and find out other information. And it's got a lot of stuff. It's got things about the Germantown School. It's got things about other activities that are going on, which I just went blank. But there is some, fire company information, any things that they're having, any events. So there's a lot of information on it.
And this is being administered and provided by Germantown Tel at no charge. So this is a nice informational piece that will help assist residents with information, getting emergency information. So it's very nice of them to put this together. They've been working on it for a while. It's a nice
So they're
added
both
piece.
on there.
So, okay.
And basically what we've done is created a core plan, and then every year we update the addendum, which includes names and contact numbers, so we don't have to reapprove the entire plan every year.
Wow.
Is Desiree included on that too, as far
Yes.
as like the animals and stuff?
Yes, absolutely. We also list all the local stores that might possibly have generators we get them, so.
Okay, all right, so moving on, I'm just gonna run down a couple quick updates here on old business. Bridge update, I have no new information to discuss. There's an article in the paper, and the engineer for the county commented and basically pulled apart our homework and our numbers, and basically said it wasn't realistic, and said, our detour is only a couple thousand feet. They're obviously really downgrading and downplaying the fact that we want this bridge reopened. It's not gonna happen in this budget unless we put together a capital projects budget, which we are working on in the county for a major bridge and road repair contract. We're talking tens of millions of dollars that needs to be bonded and put out for repairs. Then we can, then I'll be fighting to get it in that contract, so we may come down the road, but it's not gonna be next year. Maybe next year, but I doubt it. We haven't even put that contract together yet, so it's gonna take some time to do that. So in the short term, the bridge will remain closed. We're not gonna do anything further at this point until we see if we can get it in that repair contract. So,
By the way, just to reiterate for the benefit of our reporter that's here, the issue is not the length of the detour. It's a health and safety issue that if you only have one entrance to a road and that entrance gets blocked, you have no other access for emergency vehicles and whatever. And we've been through that before, so I won't belabor that anymore. That's the issue.
all right, the
And you know
inconvenience of, the emergency vehicles not being able to get down there, turn around, or plow trucks having difficulty turning around on private property. School buses no longer service that area. I mean, there's a length of reasons that this needs to be really looked at harder. And, you know, the detour is not a few thousand feet, it's a mile and a quarter or something, I think we figured that out, so. But I will seriously be pushing this issue as it moves forward, but in the short term, there's no new news on this. The lot line adjustment, I just want to bring that up again because I don't know if I did a thorough enough job, but I certainly want to, again, just mention and thank Saltwas for the donation of the property next door that allowed us to have enough room to have extra parking and more area over here because we had a limited area to start with. This is the second time they've added on and given us a piece of property to add onto our campus parcel here. And I certainly want to bring up and mention again the Clermont Cemetery Association, Ronnie Miller, for the donation of the corner piece back in the corner that allows us to connect to our back piece of property, which is the old Henley property that we acquired. So I want to make sure I do it again because I don't know if I did a thorough enough job of thanking them again for their generosity in helping us out. And, you know, I don't know if you know, the people of the town, I hope, realize that you know, our budget is so tight and we have very little money to work with, that I hope the people realize how important it is for the donations and the contributions and the generosity of everybody that's in this town to help out, because you know, we've had several pieces of land given to us, we've had several things donated. We have a highway department that does all of our grounds maintenance and takes care of things. That actually, I was going to mention that they finished the sanding down and painting of the emergency stairs in the back over there that we were written up for. They just do a tremendous amount on the grounds and save us a tremendous amount of money. So, you know, like I said, if it wasn't for the donations and people going the extra mile and help us out, we would certainly have a much larger budget. So I just want to bring that up again. And those that can donate and help out, volunteer, obviously that helps us maintain the low tax rate. And again, the church painting, I think we finished that up last month, but I think I failed to mention that it has been completed, looks good, but the contractor, John Stats and Sons, actually donated the steps on the back of the church coming out. The one, they had concrete ones there we had to start with. They were tipping over, and you know, he needed to replace the wood behind him, so we actually had Jimmy remove that and build some wood stairs. I mean, they're small, but still, there's no charge. He bought a brand new pressure treated wood and put 3 steps on there. So again, I want to mention and thank him for that donation. I mean, it was a small donation, but every donation helps, and we certainly appreciate it. New business, okay. First thing I want to do, wasn't on here, because I want, before I forget, we have a bar member for the Ripley Hathaway for the bar Board of Assessment Review. Her term has expired. We need to reappoint her. It expired October 1st, September 30th. So we're a little bit behind the curve here, but I want to recommend that we reappoint her, Ripley Hathaway, from October 1st, 2012 through September 30th, 2017, 5-year term.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Budget. I'd like to formally adopt the 2013 budget as presented. We've had two workshops on this budget. Again, we went through it as about as tight as we can get with the numbers. I think the board is satisfied with the budget we produced, and certainly recommend and offer this budget for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have not another issue, a policy that we put together. We've had our town attorney replicate a policy that was throughout many towns and the county as far as a workplace violence policy. I think I mentioned this last month. We had a surprise inspection from PESH, which is Public Employees Safety, anybody know the last acronym? Something. They came in and inspected the workplace, went through with our highway superintendent through the highway garage, had a couple minor things they pointed out that he fixed on the spot, but the main thing they found was there was not a workplace violence policy in place. Now, our highway superintendent has actually taken the safety course or class. Basically, it's nothing more than watching a movie, workplace violence. is taking this, but without the policy in the highway garage, in his hand, to show, it doesn't matter if he's been trained on this or not. So I think we haven't received the report yet, but I was told we're gonna be written up on the report that we need to have this policy in place. So I had our attorney put this together, present it to the board for review, and we're looking to pass this tonight so we can put this on the books and Jimmy can actually have it on file, so there's not an issue going forward. So I distributed a copy of this to everyone, and it's up for, for passing the policy.
I noticed that the policy has some comments in there about firearms and dangerous weapons, and my take on it is that we shouldn't really be restricting that in the workplace policy, but anything that's lawful should be allowed. I don't really want to create a gun-free zone on Clermont property.
I agree with you. If you have the right to bear arms and you have a permit for it, then the judge of the county deemed you worthy to carry this permit, wherever you may go. And if we have a problem with it, that means we don't trust our employees either. So I think to limit it is a violation of a constitutional right.
Well, I mean, my comment on this issue is being a gun owner and have a permit to carry a concealed weapon. I think I certainly agree with the right to be able to carry your arms. The only thing I struggle with is the fact that, in this instance, do we really need our town highway employees carrying guns to work? If you're a school teacher, would you take your gun to school? This is only for the common ground of the town of Clermont. So I don't have a problem with this being in this policy, but I certainly support firearms.
Well, if the highway crew were out on the road,
If they were on town property, I mean.
No, the town road is town property. Where do you
Well,
draw the
no,
line
if
on
they're
this?
working,
they're
they're wherever
working,
they are,
they're
they're a
under the
town
town,
employee,
yeah.
they're under the town.
I mean, why do you have a concealed carry permit in the first place? Actually, having that permit may indeed save somebody's life.
Yeah.
I mean, I see
It's
here,
possible,
I see here definitions, and I see here, town departments may receive training in methods of defusing hostile situations. Now, if some lunatic comes in here with a gun, and we don't have, and say Jimmy wasn't wearing his gun, he starts shooting, Jimmy may actually be, able to defuse
Well,
something.
You guys can not like me all you want. I'm an anti-gun person.
Oh.
It's also because they terrify me. But
And
my
you're a resident
concern
from the
with that
county?
would, yeah, I'm sorry. But my concern would be, and this might sound silly, but if somebody meets a rabid raccoon while they're doing highway work,
So?
Yeah.
there they go.
Just shoot them. Good.
That's what I mean in that case.
Well, usually, I think the highway guys would take a shovel and clonk it.
Probably they would.
And the shovel can be just deadly in the garage as a
But
firearm weapon.
My only question on that would be, leaving people's feelings about guns out of it, is where does this leave you with insurance coverage if you have armed employees?
I don't think that's something we can actually get an answer on because we don't have any way to prove they're armed, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, it's the.
And do you draw a line between a gun and a razor and a stiletto and a switchblade?
I would take out the
And a taser.
entire definition of dangerous weapon and possession. I don't think that we need those as part of our workplace violence program. If you're allowed to carry it legally, you should be allowed to carry it where you work.
It's a constitutional right. To limit it otherwise is to violate the Constitution, the Second Amendment.
What do other towns do?
Well, this is a format
This
that
is
was
standard.
adopted by Columbia
This is-
County.
this is
and
pretty
Other
standard.
towns, yeah, it's
Yeah,
a pretty
it's standard.
standard policy. So, county
Yeah, I don't-
county policy is employees are not allowed to bring weapons.
Constitution says that you have the right to bear arms.
Correct.
It doesn't say you have the right to bring your arm on my property or on the town's property.
When you have a concealed carry permit, you have the right to carry it anywhere.
Carry it anywhere, right?
And if I don't want you carrying that gun on my property, you can't, you can't even come on my property, first of all, if I don't want you there.
That's because it's your property.
Yeah. This is town property,
This is public property.
and the town,
And they're a member of the public.
and the town, can determine. I'd be concerned with just taking it out,
Yeah.
flat out, without
Yeah.
talking to the attorney and looking at what others are doing, because I don't want to see us end up with a problem with the insurance company because we modified it.
Well, I think we should check it, but as things currently stand, we don't have a policy at all. So effectively, it's legal now to have a concealed, carry it,
But if this is what's going on in other towns, and this is standard boilerplate from the
Yeah.
county, then I don't see what the problem is. I mean, I would object to somebody coming in here and knowing that, somebody had a gun.
Yeah, but if somebody came through that door and shooting, would you rather have
You
somebody here at the
probably
shoot to
can't-
turn around and
No,
stop
I
them from killing
don't.
everybody?
I'd duck too fast.
Yeah,
Ducking
I
is gonna
don't.
save you. It's not gonna save you. It won't save you.
What, a concealed weapon?
No, ducking. Ducking's
Well,
not gonna save you.
I don't
No,
think
this
that's-
is a conversation.
Right, this is
No,
not,
it's a
I
different
think,
conversation.
It's
I think from a liability standpoint, though, with
That's my
insurance, you have a valid point.
I know when I was up in Kinderhook or someplace, I don't remember where the meeting was, there was a sign posted that it was not allowed in the town hall.
Mhm.
And I think that was a protection for whomever, was officials that were there in case somebody has a grudge. Again, you're not gonna stop the crook. The crook is always gonna have it.
That's
But
fair.
if you have it just that it's not in the town hall, maybe, or, but
Well, I tell you, I
you
support
gotta be careful of
guns.
stepping on people's
I
rights.
support guns, I have guns.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with this policy the way it's stated. Again, it's boilerplate from the county, other towns. It's a toss-up for you, but I don't have a problem with the way it's worded.
No,
I would,
Could you read
Try
it
try to
again?
get in the courthouse with this concealed weapon.
well,
Well,
federal
because
buildings,
again, it's
you're not
posted,
allowed to.
you're not
yeah.
allowed to.
Federal buildings.
Could
you're
you
not
read
allowed
the
to.
thing again? What does it say?
Let's see, I'll start at paragraph early. Violence or threat of violence by or against an employee of Town of Clermont or any other person while on town property is strictly prohibited. The prohibited action will subject the perpetrator, if an employee, to serious disciplinary action up to and including termination of the employee, and in all cases, possible criminal prosecution. The possession of firearms or dangerous weapons, as defined below, while on town property or in a town facility or vehicle is strictly prohibited. Employees violating this policy may be terminated. The weapons portion of this policy does not apply to law enforcement personnel or other employees that are operating within the normal scope of their duties and using weapons as tools of their profession. Any other employee of Town of Clermont must provide proof of a valid weapons permit and must have written approval of the Town of
There you
Clermont
go.
Board.
So if the valid weapons permit takes care of that.
Well, it says and.
Approval of
Yeah.
town, whatever.
So I think that does take care of it. I mean, you're talking here,
The way it's also worded, it would seem to exclude members of the public.
mhm.
And I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, this is a,
But that's what, isn't that what a workplace violence program is, to prevent others from coming in
You
and
might want to
causing
also add, with the
Violence.
definition A of dangerous
Yeah, sure.
weapon, since that was referred.
The dangerous weapon is, dangerous weapons include, but is not limited to, any offensive weapon, pistol, revolver, or other firearm, dagger, razor, stiletto, switchblade knife, or knife having a blade exceeding 5 inches in length.
Illegal weapons.
I don't think there's 5 inches though.
Well, it's up to the board. We've had some discussion on this. What's the pleasure of the board on this policy, the way it's stated?
I would prefer to leave it the way it's stated.
I would move that we approve it as is, with the provision that we check with the town attorney, and if need be, we can modify it if the majority of the board wants to.
I would rather check first if we can remove it without any problem for an insurance company, and then approve later. We're gonna get dinged anyway, so I don't see that there's too much of it. And
Right, we're already
which way
in
we go.
violation,
Yeah.
so.
Yep. This is true.
Consensus of the board is we'd like to see about removing that, or if we want to leave it as, that's, we've got a motion. If there's no second, then we'll take it to the attorney and see what, what we can do to remove it.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to keep it the way it is, with, what was your recommendation, that we also look into seeing?
I'd like to look, and it can be modified later if it's appropriate.
Okay, so, we better take a roll call vote on this, because I can see what's gonna happen here.
Okay. All right. Councilman Kale?
I'd like to look into it before we adopt it, really.
So that's a no. No?
That's
That's a
right.
no.
Aye.
Councilman Desmond?
Aye.
Councilman Hempel?
Nay.
And Councilwoman Moore?
Aye.
So it comes down to me.
It comes down to you, right?
Comes to you.
Wild
I wasn't gonna ask.
card.
Which I have to admit, I do struggle with this because I'm a gun supporter.
It's a struggle.
I'm going to vote to accept the policy the way it is, and I will certainly do the due diligence of looking into it with the attorney to see what we can do, and when we review the policy come January, like we will with
Right,
every
because
policy.
this is up in
We
January.
could certainly bring it up for, more discussion to look at it again.
So that's a no.
That's fine.
That's motion
So the
passes.
policy is approved. We did put the zoning board appointment on there. Oh, no, zoning board, okay. Zoning board, we have, obviously need to make some arrangements. We have the temporary chairman of the board that we named, Hank Hemmelwright. We would like to make the appointment to permanent chairman of the board, zoning board,
So,
to fulfill this term. I forget what his term limit is, but we're just gonna put him in as the chairman for this term limit.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'd also like to make the appointment of Luke Converse, which is our alternate zoning board member, to move him into the permanent zoning board position. He's been the alternate. We'd like to put him into the permanent position.
that will be to fill out the unexpired term of Charlie, because he was the one that was going to be
Correct.
reappointed.
Correct, to fill the length of.
So it'll be, it'll be for the month, then we'll have to reappoint him again in January.
Yes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. On the heels of the
It's
zoning board.
interesting to note, by the way, that I visited Charlie in the hospital just a week or so before he passed, and he'd been asking me whose term was up. And I told him it was his. He said, well, I'm a candidate to be reappointed. He died with his boots on.
Yeah.
He was right up to the end, working for the town.
We do have a vacancy in the alternate position now, obviously. We may need another member come beginning of the year from what the conversations I've had. So we do need to have someone in the alternate position for the zoning board. I know that there's been a couple people that expressed some interest as of lately, so I think we should maybe call them in, sit down, talk to a couple of people that are interested, and if anybody else is interested, please contact us. We'd certainly like to talk to them and see, interview them and get them involved if they're willing. But we want to set a date to try to set up and meet these two candidates and anybody else that applies. Pick a date that, when's the next zoning board meeting?
Fourth Wednesday.
So that's not till the 22nd. That's
After
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
That's
After.
Thanksgiving.
The week after Thanksgiving.
I'd like to do it after that meeting, so, which is about the end of the month.
Right.
Maybe we have to do.
Yeah, I don't know if they may not have a meeting, but there's been years that the meeting's been canceled for Thanksgiving week.
All right. So
And- Or,
But they're the week after Thanksgiving.
They are the
this
week
year.
after.
They may, and if they have someone, they may not be canceled.
Okay. So we'll have to push it off till December to get somebody as an alternate then. I think we wait until after our next board meeting. Maybe we can do it, well, pick a date that works for everybody. We can maybe do it on a Thursday night since Mary's here, everybody's here, we can come in. Maybe the 5th, which is, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can do it the 5th, I guess, Thursday night, or 6th.
No, 6th would be Thursday.
Okay. Does that work for everybody? We can then maybe set up the appointments and meet them early Thursday, say 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
something like that.
6:30.
6:30? 6:30 better? Okay. Why don't we make it 6:30 then?
On Thursday the 6th.
Thursday the 6th. December 6th. 6:30. We'll have the other one come in at 7, or 6:45. And if anybody else is interested, please let us know. We'll make a time to meet as
Something
well.
on the website too. It's interesting.
Okay. All right. Okay, moving on to supervisor report. Just to go back, comment on something we discussed a little bit before this meeting, in our budget meeting. There were some current concerns through the county, obviously, with the news of some problems with bookkeeper and Stockport. I want to bring that up because on the heels of that information that was circulated, I contacted our bookkeeper and asked for some additional information above and beyond the regular reports we get. I have the full printout of every single thing that's went through our account and our check register and our ledger for the general highway, because I wanted to make sure we had the additional information on hand. I looked through everything again to verify that we are not going to have an issue like Stockport is facing. I just want to reassure the taxpayers that, you know, this is being looked at by the entire board. We do look at the information thoroughly. I think this is being mishandled, unfortunately, in my opinion, by Stockport, because you know, they come out with this $250,000 missing out of their fund balance. You know, a few days later, they found $100,000 that was spent by the board under water district, which, you know, it's not missing, it was spent by the board. So I think until this is ironed out and all the details are finished out, for anybody to speculate on what's going on in town, it's very difficult unless you're on that board. You know, certainly the expenditures were approved by the board members, the supervisor, or old supervisor, or whatever it is. But everybody's on that boat together to take blame for if money was allocated, you know, incorrectly. You know, you don't take fund balance or budgeted money out of your regular budget to pay for a water district, first of all, anyway. So a water district has its own billing district. So there's issues up there, and I just want to make sure everybody realizes that we have everything we need to analyze our budget, our numbers, our bank accounts, to assure the taxpayers that the money is being looked at and accounted for in our town. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know there's been a lot of speculation on what's going on with that town. Pine Haven, we finally, at the last meeting, I said we had the final approval on the Pine Haven home. I was incorrect. It was a third and final approval process that was completed and approved the following week after our last meeting. So now it is officially approved. The project is being looked at, and you know, preparation to get the architects working on getting this thing underway. This will be a project that will be probably born, you know, I'd like to say end of next year, but it's probably more like 14. It'll take probably a 2-year process to build this new home. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful home, and you know, the way Pine Haven has been run the past few years, it's been making a profit. So many other counties have been trying to get out of the nursing home business. Ours is actually profitable and continues to show profit. So we are very encouraged to be able to provide this to our residents where they're making profit. We don't have to subsidize it. So we're very happy about that. So we're excited to get this new home underway. The courthouse project, they have actually begun working on the project. They're meeting, they're mobilized to the area. That project is underway, will take probably the next 1.5 to 2 years to complete. That's only a $9 million project, with Pine Haven is $32 million roughly, so that's quite a bit smaller, but it is, again, it's a large project, it's underway, it's been in the making for years. Glad that we finally have everything finalized and under construction, so that's something that's been needed to be done for a decade or more. So I'll keep everybody updated as that progresses, but the one thing we still have a problem with, and we're trying to find a home for the court system temporarily, because it's gonna be that much more difficult and take that much longer if they do this whole construction project while court is actually staying in that same building underway. So, we're still trying to locate a place to temporarily house the court system. Haven't had any success, but, as of now, they're starting with the court in place, in progress, so we'll see how that works out. Communications tower radio upgrade is a large number in the county budget this year. I don't know if anybody's paid attention, but there's a $3 million expenditure roughly for the new radios and tower that's needed to upgrade the communication system. It's something that needs to be done for the safety of the county, for communications. Our fire companies all have to change radios. The county has talked about purchasing these radios in advance for all the fire districts, because some districts don't have the money, they didn't save the money, they can't afford to buy all these radios, and they're still working out the deal if we're gonna have some kind of reimbursement system, because, we can't just buy radios from private fire companies, so there's gonna be a reimbursement to pay the money back. But the idea is to get the communications tower up, get the radios out there, so everybody has the communications they need, and then get the money back. Or, I don't know, again, the details haven't worked out, but the money will be paid back as far as I know. There's been some speculation on if it was gonna be paid back. Everything I've heard has been yes, but I don't have the final details on that yet. But it is something that needs to be done for the safety of the county. The budget, where do I begin? The budget process. I've said several times that I'm not that thrilled with the budget process this year for the county. It's been changed pretty dramatically from last year and the previous years. One thing I have to bring up, and it just, I've said this several times, the CHA, the Certified Home Health Agency. We had our last meeting with the health director, which came in and told us that the numbers have continued to drop. Next year is projected to be almost $1 million loss for this program to take care of 20 people. This has come up for vote in the county before. We had all the details put out there. We had all the information. We had a company that was willing to buy this program from us, come in, take care of the people adequately. Supervisors, majority of the supervisors voted against it, against selling this agency. And the director of the health department comes in last month and says, I really don't know what else to say. We have nothing else to do. We can't cut this. This is what it is. It's $1 million loss for the county taxpayers. So 2.5% of your county taxes is going to pay for this program for 20 people. And until some of these supervisors feel pressure from their constituents that voted for this, there's several issues that could be saved a lot of money in the county, and this is certainly one of them. It should have been handled differently. And, I certainly supported selling this program. And I just don't know what else to say. It's 2.5% of your county tax rate going to this program. There's certain things also on the county budget that, certainly need to be looked at. I mean, I brought up a couple different instances where we could save some money, and until some of these supervisors that are up there, and unfortunately, we have no control over it. Clermont has no control. I'm one voice in a room of many. But until we have some supervisors that look at the county budget as a business, not a family, not a friends and family organization, nothing's going to change. There's not going to be enough money saved. There's never going to be positions cut. There's never going to be waste cut out until it's run like a business. And that sums it up. There's way too many people that are protecting people they know, that are friends with people, that don't want to make the difficult decisions. And, it's very difficult when you sit back and look at this and see all of this that could be changed and some money can be saved, and nobody's willing to do it. And I brought up several things. The child was one of them. Departments and positions that don't need to be there. Just for example, we have a department that's me, main job is to administer reimbursements for towns and distribute money. The department with the salaries, which is mostly salaries, costs the county $150,000. This is a small egg in a big pot. $150,000 to administer this program. They administer $40,000. So we're paying a $150,000 program to give out $40,000. This is the kind of things that need to be looked at. There's departments that could be eliminated.
Treasurer's office or something.
There could be many different things combined to take care of this, but people are, there's many different ways to go about it to save money. But the hard decisions are, do you move this person away? Do you let them go? Do you abolish the department? Nobody wants to make these decisions. So there's many things, and I could run off quite a few of them. One other one, I'll just bring this up. The county recently tried to pass a local law, actually amend the local law, to allow the county the flexibility to issue its own permits and do its own building inspections. Sort of like the town has a building inspector, the county has somebody qualified, trained as a code enforcement officer. They have somebody on staff that could actually do our building inspections, our fire inspections, maintenance, occupancy ratings, stuff that needs to be done on a regular basis. And also issue building permits and do the code enforcement for any projects, like the courthouse would be one of them. Pine Haven would be another one. It came up for vote at a committee meeting and didn't even pass the committee because certain supervisors thought it would take the power away from the towns to be able to control what was going in and out of the town as far as their own building permits and their building oversight. Now this, if we pass this, which the law was intended to be set up this way, if we pass this, it would save the county taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. Pine Haven is a perfect example. We're going to have to pay probably over $100,000 in permit fees for that building for a $32 million project. The courthouse in Hudson was 30-some thousand, which they reduced, I believe, to 10 or 15 because they wanted to give us a break. But again, this is money we're spending for something we don't need. We have a code enforcement person on the payroll. But the supervisors don't want to pass this. I still don't understand this myself. I voted against it, or for it. I mean, I wanted to make sure we could have this guy, do our code enforcement. Again, I mean, there's so many things you can look at to save money, and nobody wants to make the decisions that certainly to me make sense. Again, I don't know, until some of these supervisors are held accountable by their voters, nothing's gonna change. So, I'll continue to fight for what I think is right, and I'll bring whatever information I can down here so everybody understands what's happening in the county, but unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do about it. Luckily, the upside, the plus side is the revenues have been higher for the county. They're about $4 million over anticipated revenues, what we anticipated and budgeted for this year. So this will, luckily, keep the county from having to raise taxes, I believe. Right now, we're looking to make sure we come in at a 0% flat increase again. We're trying to do everything possible. I think we'll accomplish that. I know we'd accomplish that if we did some of these ideas that I just talked about. But I still think we can come in at a 0% increase for the county. I feel that, like I've said the past 2 years, that we came in at zero. There's waste, there's money that can be eliminated, there's money in the budget that doesn't need to be there. And if you do the math, over the past 2 years, the health insurance costs, the union raises that have went up, and the pension plans that went up over millions of dollars have all been absorbed into this budget. And yet we've had to not have to raise taxes. So that explains that there is waste in the budget. It's being absorbed by some of these costs going up. But like I've said all along, there's enough money in that budget that does not need an increase. So I'm thinking that this year the supervisors will come together and again put out a 0% increase. We can't continue to do this if things keep rising the way they are, but if revenues continue to raise, that'll help us here, helps the county. That will obviously offset any increases that we may incur. So again, we have quite a bit of additional revenue which helps us offset the increase in costs. So hopefully we'll be able to continue the 0% in the short-term period at least. That's about all I have in the county. I want to just make sure, again, I said, I thanked the highway crew for the back of the community house. Again, saving us money. And I want to thank Nancy and Mary for helping me put together some information. Charles Larson, I was preoccupied this past week. My son was sick. I was in the hospital for a week. So I was tied up for a little while, and they helped put together this one certificate. And I want to thank them for their work on that and helping me out. And I certainly want to thank CJ again for coming in here tonight. We certainly appreciate you coming in, and we obviously certainly appreciate everything Charles done for us. So, and on the heels of that, I just want to mention the election day dinner, which is tomorrow night. If you're not in this room, the tape won't do you any good. It is tomorrow night, but hopefully everybody will try to make it up here to support the dinner, and hopefully everybody comes out to vote. It's an important election, presidential election, which usually brings out quite a few people, but hopefully we have a large turnout. Other than that, that's about all I have. Ron, motion to pay abstracts.
Move that we pay abstract, general abstract number 11, vouchers number 263 through 295, in the amount of $6,314.20.
So, second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I make a motion, pay the highway abstracts number 100. I'm sorry, highway abstract number 11, vouchers number 100 through 113, the amount of $12,675.40.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, public communications, comments for the board.
I have something. I live on Firehouse Road. There's the abandoned house.
Excuse me, one second, could you just state your name for the record?
Gary Storzinger Jr.
Okay, thank you.
I take part in German Thompson's political science class.
Great.
And there's this house that's on my road. It's abandoned, been broken into. I was accused of robbery in it, and the grass is extremely high. And German had the same situation, but they did was they notify the owner if they don't claim it and take care of it in 90 days, you get bulldozed.
This is the first I've heard about this, as a matter of fact, so whereabouts is the property? I know where you are.
Okay, you know where Fire Station 3 is?
Sure.
It's literally like diagonally across from it.
On your side of the road?
Yeah, in Firehouse.
Just up your side of the road, oh, right, your house.
Yeah.
I will certainly look into it. This is the first I've heard about abandoned house over there. I didn't hear from the highway department or anybody else, but I'll certainly look into it.
And there's another one. There's a abandoned barn with a truck that's there, and all they do is mow it. And that barn has broken windows. There's wild animals living in there. One year there's up to 30 cats running around Firehouse Road.
That would be an issue for Desiree, our dog enforcement, or excuse me, our animal warden, but I could
But
certainly.
I did contact the animal warden. They didn't do anything for us. They never do anything for us because there's a neighbor that left their dog run loose, and they didn't take care of him either. So
I know she visited that property.
Yeah,
There's some
she-
communications there. I know there was a.
yeah, nothing really happened. The dog ended up getting run over. The guy ended up buying 2 more dogs.
Do those dogs stay on her property at least?
They moved away. The 2 dogs I believe got killed again.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. All right. I'll look at the foreclosure list as well, because we're gonna be putting out a foreclosure list, but it's possible that the property is up for foreclosure.
I know the owner is out of the state, if not more upstate, away from the house. He said he wants nothing to do with it, and he'll let the state deal with it.
That could be one of the properties that is vacated. All right.
multiple televisions in there. And again, someone broke into it. I was accused by state authorities of breaking into it.
Let me find out what I can on that property, and I guess I'll get back to you. I've spoken to your file before, but issues, I'll certainly get back to you, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No? There's no other public comment? Entertained motion to adjourn?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.